Eric, thank you for being with us today. We're here at the Sea of Galilee. It's an active day, it's a holiday, so kids are playing and it's a beautiful day. You have a unique history with Zola Levitt Presents and Zola himself. Tell our viewers about that.
Well, over 25 years ago, my wife and I and some associates founded a place called the Galilee Experience, which was a show for Christian tourists. All right, here on the Sea of Galilee, in fact, just a few hundred meters from here, is the theater that we built and the shop and the cafe and so forth. And we would present the history of the Galilee and also present the gospel in a very Jewish Israeli way. And the city of Tiberias refused to give us a business license. They knew who we were, but the fact is who we were was perfectly legal. We were citizens in the land. What we were doing was perfectly legal. The content of our show was perfectly legal. But the ultra-Orthodox tried to stop us through the city. And Zola came at that exact time and interviewed us with the building that we had built the theater in and the background. And a few months later, the Supreme Court granted us a unanimous decision to give us the license.
It's fantastic. And the Galilee Experience, we often bring our tours to see this. Describe it to our viewers, please.
Well, I understood when Terry and I, my wife, moved here 33 years ago. And we realized that this is a great place for Christian tourists to come and see all the sites. 83% of Yeshua's miracles were performed in this part of the country. And yet there was nothing for them to do after the day of touring. There were no attractions. And so we thought we need an attraction for the Christian tourists. We'll call it the Galilee Experience. And at those days, there were other experience shows like New York Experience, London Experience, Chicago Experience, San Francisco Experience. Those shows have since closed down. Long ago, the Galilee Experience is still running. Same show in the same theater, 25 years.
Can you give us a highlight of some personal thing that you've seen happen through the program?
Well, the opening night, after we won the case, and we had our first opening night, there was a young Israeli man came with his girlfriend, American girlfriend, and she said, "Do you have a New Testament in Hebrew that I could give my boyfriend?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, we do." And so that young man got saved, and he now has a Messianic congregation in Tel Aviv.
Wow.
And another one came as a tour guide, learning to be a tour guide, and he found himself weeping during the 7 minutes in which we present Yeshua, we present Jesus. And within a few months he got saved, and now he's running one of the largest Messianic congregations in Israel, the Tents of Mercy.
So he's actually a good friend of ours. And so what you're saying is that you have been a forerunner in taking the gospel into a so-called neutral territory so that pre-believers can see it without the religious trappings.
Exactly. It operates as a business. It's not a congregation. It's not a church. It's not a mission organization. It's a place of business. When people come to see the Galilee Experience, they buy a ticket, including Israelis, and they're actually paying to hear the gospel.
I love it.
We've had more than 30,000 do that.
Wow, I love that. So what are you currently involved in? What's your latest project or what you're doing for ministry now?
Well, I retired from the Galilee Experience in 2008. It's still operating under the ownership of Sorel Tours. They're doing a great job of operating the Galilee Experience, continuing the legacy. Terry and I founded a Messianic congregation in our home in 2005, and that's now 11 years old. We also produce Jewish calendars for Christians. We sell them around the world, including in the United States. And we're also working now in helping Jewish people come home to their promised land in Israel.
Your Aliyah project, you're bringing people from all over or from the West? Where are most of them coming from?
Primarily from the West because that's where we're from. But we have sent fishermen out, according to Jeremiah 16:16, to 8 different countries, including Cuba, by the way, including the Ukraine, including Ethiopia. And this is part of what we do. This is part of what the Lord has shown us to do.
It's fantastic. I would like you to speak directly to the hearts of our viewers. You can look into the camera and either ask for prayer or give us a word that we need to know about. Just whatever's on your heart, just speak directly to our viewers, please.
Well, an issue that we have been facing is the perception of most Israeli Jews and most Jews from around the world that a Jewish person who believes in Jesus, in Yeshua, is no longer a Jew. They become a Christian. And if you ask any Messianic Jew in the world, they will tell you that's absolutely not true. They're more Jewish than they were before they accepted Yeshua, and they're more Zionistic, and they love the country, and they love God, and they love His Word more than ever. So this is a deep perception that goes back to the terrible things that have been done to the Jewish people through the centuries by so-called Christians and even by the church itself. And so this is a deep wound in the Jewish soul that needs to be healed, and it's doing a lot of harm because Jewish people are afraid to accept Yeshua if it means they're not going to be Jewish anymore, and it doesn't mean that at all, and we need to change that perception. We would solicit your prayers in that regard.
That's perfect. Thank you, Eric, for being with us today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.